The medical bay was quiet. Only the soft hum of machines filled the white, glowing room. Nurse Virel stood by the examination table, her long blue hair falling neatly over her shoulders. Her green skin glowed slightly under the sterile lights, and her sharp ears twitched when she heard the doors slide open. 2 security officers entered, pushing a hover bed. On it lay a human male, unconscious. His skin was pale, and a bandage wrapped around his waist. One of the officers looked at her. "First human patient. Be careful," he said. Virel nodded. She had read about humans in the academy. Strong bodies, strange immune systems, emotional creatures. But she had never treated one before. In fact, most alien doctors avoided humans. Their biology was unpredictable. The hoverbed clicked into place. The human breathed slowly, chest rising and falling. Virel looked down at him and whispered, "You don't look dangerous." She tapped her wrist panel, and a smooth scanner moved over the human's body. Numbers and signs lit up in front of her eyes. Blood pressure, normal. Brain activity, stable. Muscles damaged, but healing. So far, so good. Then the scanner blinked red. Virel frowned. A strange heat signature appeared. It was centered in the lower part of his body. She had never seen this before. Was it internal bleeding, a parasite? She double-checked her instruments. No errors. The heat was real and rising. She leaned closer. The human stirred, groaning. "Is he waking up?" she whispered. The man opened his eyes slowly. Deep brown eyes, scanning the room. He looked confused, then calm. He saw Virel and blinked again. "Where am I?" he asked, voice low. "You're safe," Virel said. "This is the ship's medical bay. You were injured. We are treating you." The man nodded slightly. Then he noticed her face-green skin, large eyes, pointed ears. His eyebrows lifted. "You're not human," he said. "No," Virel replied. "I'm Elvari, a nurse." He tried to sit up, but Virel gently pushed him back. "Rest, you are healing." But her scanner beeped again. The strange heat was rising even faster. She looked at the monitor, then at him. "There's an unusual swelling," she said. "Here." She pointed to the glowing area on the screen. The man followed her gaze, then turned bright red. His hand went to his forehead. "Oh no, is it painful?" she asked. No, it's not. It's not what you think," he stammered. Virel tilted her head. "Then what is it?" The man looked away, clearly embarrassed. "It's normal for a human. Sometimes." Virel was not convinced. "It is not in your medical file. This area shows high temperature and pressure. Could it be an infection?" He laughed nervously. "No, not an infection. Just a reaction to..." "What?" He went quiet. Virel leaned closer, studying his face. His heart rate was increasing. His breathing was faster. His eyes kept darting away from hers. She touched his wrist gently. "Are you afraid?" "No," he said. "Just surprised." She blinked, confused. The monitor beeped again. "Your condition is getting stronger," she said. "Should I call the chief medic?" "No," he shouted, then calmed himself. "Please, don't." She raised an eyebrow. This was strange. Even for a human. Virel stood up straight. "I will check the database." She walked to the main console, typing quickly. "Human male. Localized swelling. Temporary. Emotional trigger." The results appeared. Her eyes widened. "Oh." She looked back at the man. He was now covering his face with his hands. She slowly walked over to him again, expression softening. "I understand now. You are not in danger." "Good," he mumbled, "but..." She continued, "This means you had an emotional reaction?" "While looking at me." The man groaned. Virel tilted her head again, studying him like a strange new creature. Her professional calm returned, but inside, she was curious, fascinated. "I will note this reaction in your file," she said. Please don't, he whispered, but she had already typed it in. Strange human, she said under her breath, smiling slightly. The human turned to her, face still red. You're not going to treat me differently now, right? Virel shook her head. No, but I may need to ask more questions, he sighed. Figures. And so began the most unexpected medical case Nurse Virel had ever handled. Not because of danger. Not because of pain. But because of something she never studied in her medical books, human emotion. And she was just getting started. Asterisk. Virel didn't sleep that night. Even though her shift ended hours ago, her mind kept returning to the human patient. His face. His words. That strange biological reaction her scanner had picked up. She had read hundreds of pages about human physiology. But this was something new. Why did it happen? She sat at her station, scrolling through medical files, scientific journals, and alien forums. She even messaged a few Elvery medics working on Earth colonies. None had answers that made her feel satisfied. Emotional trigger, one article said. Linked to attraction or stress, another guessed. But they all ended with the same warning. Human bodies can behave without warning. Do not panic, just observe. She sighed. Virel wasn't used to just observing. She liked answers. She liked facts. But this human wasn't fitting into any category she knew. The next day, she walked back into the med bay. The human was awake and sitting up right now, eating the food pack they gave him. He waved when he saw her. Morning, nurse. Virel nodded politely. Your temperature is stable. Your wound is healing well. Good, he said. And thank you for taking care of me, she blinked. I am trained to care for all species. You are no exception. But inside she felt different. She picked up the scanner again and walked toward him. I need to run a few follow-up scans, to be sure. The man tensed. Is it the same area? Yes, she said calmly. His ears turned pink. As she scanned him, Virel tried to stay professional, but her eyes glanced at his face. He was watching her again, not scared. Not angry, just curious. She looked away quickly. Your heart rate rises when you look at me, she said without thinking. His face flushed. You're kind of beautiful. That word stopped her. Beautiful. No patient had ever said that to her. No one had ever dared. On Ovari ships, beauty was not discussed in the workplace. But humans, she remembered, were different. They didn't hide emotions well. She turned off the scanner. I am a nurse, she said, trying to sound strict. I am not here to be looked at that way. Sorry, he said quickly. I didn't mean anything bad. I don't know, it's weird. You saved me. You care. And you look like a dream. Kind of hard not to notice. Virel felt a strange tightness in her chest. A new feeling. Not medical, not professional. Something else. I'm just trying to understand you, she said softly. Same, he replied. I've never met an alien like you before. You're calm, smart, kind. Silence filled the room. Then, to break it, Virel asked, does your species often experience this swelling reaction? He burst out laughing. Not all the time, only in certain situations. She narrowed her eyes, such as, he rubbed the back of his neck. Well, when we're attracted, or nervous, or sometimes just by accident. Virel nodded slowly, trying to process this alien truth. So, it is linked to emotion? Yes, he said, mostly. But sometimes it just happens. It's not dangerous, I promise. She folded her arms, thinking. Your biology is difficult, she said. Unpredictable, he smiled. That's what makes us fun. She didn't answer, but her lips twitched slightly. Would you allow me to study more of your species' behavior? She asked. He blinked. You mean, like more scans? Yes, but also your responses. How your body reacts to different feelings for science, he chuckled. For science, huh? Sounds like an excuse. She tilted her head. I do not need excuses. I am curious. The human leaned forward. All right, I'll let you study me. But on one condition. What? You have to tell me your name. Your real one. Virel hesitated. Names were sacred among her kind. Only close allies or chosen friends were given true names, but this human had shared everything, his fears, his reactions, even his awkward secrets. She looked into his eyes. Virel, she said at last. He smiled wide. Nice to meet you, Virel. I'm Joran. And in that quiet, glowing room, a human and an alien took the first step into something neither of them had expected. Not a war, not a treaty, but understanding. Virel had studied medicine all her life. She knew how to fix broken bones, clean infections, and calm a panicking soldier. She had learned about 25 species in training, including humans. But no lesson had prepared her for this, for feelings. Next day, she arrived in the med bay early. Earlier than needed. Ian, the human patient, was already awake. He had somehow adjusted the medical bed into a half-sitting position. His arms were crossed behind his head, and he was humming something. Softly, a tune strange and warm. Virel paused at the door, watching him for a moment. He looked peaceful, not like other patients. Most aliens feared hospitals. But Joran? He looked like he was in a resting chamber, not a recovery unit. She stepped in. Good morning, she said, straightening her uniform. Joran smiled. Hey. Doc, I am not a doctor, she replied. I'm a nurse. He chuckled. You're the smartest nurse I've ever met. She walked to her scanner, pretending not to react. But her mind was already racing. She had reviewed the scan logs. Again. The swelling, the heat, the emotional triggers, it all led back to one clear but strange conclusion. Humans express attraction physically, instantly. Their bodies speak before their mouths do. And Joran's body had clearly reacted to her. Now. She was determined to test a theory. I need to monitor your responses again, she said. Joran nodded. All right, more scans? No, she replied. Just conversation. His brow lifted. Conversation? Yes, talk to me. About your planet, your people, your feelings. Feelings? He laughed. You really want to go there? I want to understand why your body behaves before you speak. He grinned. Okay then. He sat up straighter. On Earth, when people like someone, sometimes they feel nervous. Hearts beat faster, palms sweat, and yeah. The body does things, embarrassing things. Why? She asked. Because our emotions aren't quiet, they shout. Even when we try to hide them. She tilted her head, listening carefully. So, when your body reacted that first day, what was it shouting? Joran looked at her, not as a nurse, not as an alien, just as someone trying to understand him. It was shouting that you were beautiful, he said softly. Silence. No beeping machines. No blinking lights. Just air between them. Virel stared at him, her mind struggling to balance training and curiosity. Beautiful is not a medical term, she finally said. But it's real, Joran replied. Just like pain or hunger. It's something we feel. Deep. Virel looked away. For a moment, she was unsure. Not as a nurse, but as herself. She checked his vitals again. Everything was rising: heart rate, oxygen level, body heat. Her own pulse felt strange too. I think your species is dangerous, she muttered. Joran laughed. You're probably right. She turned to her console and typed. Subject experiences rapid biological shift from minor emotional cues. Reactions uncontrolled, but not harmful. Further study needed. Then she added one line she never expected. Unpredictable. But fascinating. Joran leaned forward again. You ever feel anything like that? In your kind? Virel hesitated. We form mental links. Slowly, through time. Not through instant reaction. Sounds safer, Joran said. But maybe a little slower. She raised an eyebrow. You think faster is better? He smiled. Sometimes yes. Because you don't have time to pretend. You just feel it. She didn't know how to respond. Her training told her to stay neutral, to observe, to remain calm. But every time Joran smiled, her thoughts got louder. Suddenly, a soft chime rang across the room. A new message. It was from the ship's AI. Commander visiting medbay in 10 minutes for inspection. Virel froze. She couldn't let anyone see this strange connection. Not yet. Not without understanding it. She turned to Joran. We must act normal, Joran winked. I thought I was already doing that. No, I mean very normal. No smiling, no laughing, no swelling. He grinned. You're worried about me reacting again? She sighed. Yes. He leaned back. Then you'll have to stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like you're curious, like I'm more than a patient. She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. And in that moment, both of them realized this wasn't just about medicine anymore. This was something more. Something no scanner could measure. Something no chart could explain. And it was just beginning. The medical bay looked spotless, organized as always. But something had changed. Virel stood near her desk, her back straight, arms folded behind her. She was waiting not just for the inspection, but for the feeling inside her to pass. She told herself, it was just curiosity. A normal reaction to something new, something unknown. Humans were emotional creatures. Fascinating, yes, but also unpredictable. But when Joran looked at her, something shifted in her, not in her scanner. Not in her report. In her. Footsteps echoed. Down the corridor. The medbay doors opened with a soft hiss. Commander Talek entered, tall, armored, sharp-eyed. A pureblood Elvari officer with no time for jokes or mistakes. Nurse Virel, he said. Inspection. Virel nodded. Of course. Commander. Talek's gaze swept the room. His eyes paused briefly on Joran, who sat calmly on the medbed, arms folded, expression neutral. Is this the human from Shuttle 9? Talek asked. Yes, Virel said. Stable, recovery progressing without issue. Talek walked closer. To the bed. He eyed Joran like he was inspecting the strange insect. Has he shown any threats? No, Virel replied quickly. Any unusual behavior? Virel hesitated. She remembered the scan. The reaction. The awkward conversation. The shared silence. Her own questions. No, sir, she said finally. Talek grunted. Good. We can't afford complications. The High Command already doubts the use of human soldiers. Joran raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Talek turned to leave but stopped at the door. Stay objective, nurse. He's not one of us. And just like that, he was gone. The doors hissed shut. Joren looked over. Well, he seems fun. Virel exhaled, tension slipping from her shoulders. He is efficient, Joran chuckled. He also thinks I'm a problem. Virel walked over slowly. Are you? Not unless you want me to be, he teased gently. She didn't respond to that. Instead, she picked up her datapad and opened a new log entry. But her hands paused. Her training said to remain distant, to log symptoms, to keep emotion away, but nothing in her medical files explained the heat rising in her cheeks, or the way her chest tightened when Joran smiled. Finally she spoke. May I ask something personal? Joran nodded. Sure. Why does your kind react so strongly to feelings? Why do your bodies respond before your minds decide? Joran leaned back, thoughtful. Because we're not built for control. We're built for connection. It's messy. It's fast. But it's real. Virel blinked. But isn't that dangerous? He shrugged. Maybe, but it also means we never miss a moment. That idea stayed in her mind. Never miss a moment. She closed her datapad. I reviewed your scans, she said. No sign of infection, no physical damage, he grinned. Told you. Perfectly healthy. Physically, yes, she said, but you're still unpredictable. And that bothers you? She nodded. I prefer patterns, logic, charts. Then maybe I'm your worst patient. Virel looked at him. No, she said. You're the one teaching me the most. A strange silence followed. Not awkward. Not uncomfortable. Just ... still ... Then Joran spoke again, voice softer. What if science isn't enough to explain everything? Virel frowned. Then what else is there? He smiled. Trust. Instinct. Feeling. Feeling can't be scanned. She replied. Exactly, he said. She didn't know what to say to that ... for the first time. Nurse Virel, who always had the answers, had none. She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, Joran called out, Virel. She looked back. Thanks for not treating me like a threat, he said. She nodded. Thank you. For showing me something I didn't understand. And as she stepped out of the room, Virel felt something shift, not in her monitor or console, but deep within. A signal not from a machine, but from her own heart. Virel sat alone in the quiet corner of the ship's observation deck. Stars drifted slowly past the glass wall. She wasn't on duty tonight, but her thoughts hadn't left the medbay. More importantly, her thoughts hadn't left Joren. She remembered every word he said. Every awkward pause. Every moment where her scanner failed but her instincts told her something deeper was happening. It was no longer just about his body's strange reaction. It was something else now. Something harder to name. Curiosity. But not the kind she learned in school. This was personal, dangerous. Never get close to a subject. Her instructors had warned, but Joran was no longer just a subject. He was a question she couldn't stop asking. Back in the medbay, Joran looked out of his small window. He wasn't used to being still. He was a soldier, a human trained for motion, survival, action. But this time, he wasn't healing from a wound. He was waiting for her, for that nurse who didn't understand him, but tried. Who didn't laugh at his biology but wanted to learn. Who didn't walk away when things got awkward but leaned in, with those bright eyes full of wonder. He didn't know why, but he felt safe around her. Not just safe. Seen, and maybe that's what scared him more than any battlefield. Later. That evening, Virel returned to check on him. She didn't wear her usual stiff expression. Her face looked softer, thoughtful. Joran noticed. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I couldn't sleep. He sat up straighter. Is something wrong? She hesitated. No, not wrong, just new. She pulled over a chair and sat beside him. This time she didn't scan him. She didn't take notes. She just looked at him. May I ask you something again? She said. Double quotes always. If your body can react without your permission, how do you know when your feelings are real? He paused, surprised by the question. Because I can't stop thinking about them, he said. Even when I try. She nodded slowly. That's how I feel right now. Joran blinked. You mean, about me? Virel looked down. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. Yes. For a moment, the silence between them held 1,000 answers. Then Joran reached out, gently placing a hand over hers. I never thought I'd connect with someone this far from home, he said. Especially not someone who reads me better. Then I understand myself. Virel smiled faintly. You confuse me, he laughed. Welcome to humanity. She looked at his hand resting over hers. No medical scanner can explain this, she said softly. Joren leaned closer. Then maybe we stop scanning and start feeling. She didn't move away. And in that quiet room, with no machines blinking, and no charts to read, they both realized something had changed. This was no longer a nurse watching a patient, This was a heart seeing another heart for the first time. Suddenly, a soft alert chimed at the door. Virel stood up quickly. "Commander?" "No." A voice said, "Routine medbay sweep, just maintenance." She exhaled, relieved. Joren smiled. "You look nervous." "I am not supposed to feel anything," she said. "Then we're both already in trouble," he whispered. Virel turned toward the scanner console and opened a blank file. She didn't label it medical report or patient file. Instead, she wrote the title, Human Emotion Uncharted Territory. She looked at Joren. And for the first time, she allowed herself to wonder, what if this wasn't a mistake? What if this was the beginning of something no alien book could explain? Virel stood before the mirror in her private quarters, staring at her own reflection. Her long blue hair was tied neatly behind her shoulders. Her white uniform was still spotless. Her rank badge still shone. But something had changed inside her, and she could feel it. For years, she lived by the rules. No connections with patients. No emotional bonds. No blurred lines, but with Joren, those rules were no longer enough to protect her. She thought of his voice, his words, his gaze that somehow reached into her thoughts and made her question everything. He was just one human, injured and healing. Yet he had become the one being she couldn't stop thinking about. And tonight, she was going to break protocol. Joren sat quietly on the medbed, legs swinging over the edge, staring at the floor. He was stronger now, wounds nearly healed, but something deeper was happening inside him too. He had faced battles, enemies, and near-death situations. But nothing prepared him for what it felt like to care about someone not even from his world. Virel wasn't just an alien nurse, she was the first soul who looked at him, without judgment. When the doors slid open and she entered, the room seemed to freeze. She didn't carry her datapad. She didn't ask for vitals. She just stood there. Eyes soft but serious. "Joren," she said quietly, "I need to speak, not as your nurse, but as Virel." He sat up straighter. "I'm listening." "I have spent my life following rules," she said. "I believed structure would protect me. That distance kept things simple. But now I am caught between two choices: follow the path I was trained for, or walk into something I don't understand." Joren stood slowly, stepping closer. "And what do you want to understand?" Virel looked up at him. "You," he smiled gently. "Then stop walking in circles and stand beside me." She didn't answer with words. Instead, she reached out, just slightly, and let her hand rest near his, not touching, but close. Close enough for the air between them to spark. Suddenly, a loud beep interrupted the moment. The ship's security alert blared once. Then again, both turned toward the sound. "Unauthorized data breach detected," said the ship AI. "Level 2. Medical terminal compromised." Virel's heart sank. That was her console. She ran to the wall panel and tapped her access code. Joren followed quickly. "What's going on?" "Someone accessed my private research file," she said. "The one about you." "Wait, the emotional scan log?" She nodded. "Yes, someone has seen it." Joren clenched his fists. "That's bad, right?" She turned to him, eyes wide with fear. "If the commander reads it, he'll assume I broke protocol. Emotional bonding with a patient is not allowed." "Then we fix it," he said. "There's no time. The system already flagged the file." Joren looked around, his military instincts kicking in. "Is there a manual override?" Virel hesitated, then nodded. "In the backup server room. But it's off limits to patients." He looked her dead in the eye. "Then don't take me there as a patient. Take me there as someone who matters." She stared at him, and in that moment, she made a choice she never thought she would. She disabled the room sensors, grabbed her ID card, and led Joren through the back hallway. They slipped through the maintenance tunnel, heartbeats racing. Virel's fingers trembled as she swiped her badge at the backup control door. It slid open with a hiss. Inside, the room buzzed with soft white lights and humming machines. She rushed to the central console and typed quickly. "Deleting personal scan logs," she whispered. "Rerouting emotional data to dummy files." Joran stood watch near the door. His hand rested on the wall, ready to shield her if anyone entered. "You're risking your position for me," he said. VIRL kept typing. "Not just for you, for the truth no one trained me to face." She tapped one. Final command. File erased. Trace cleared. The console dimmed. Her chest rose and fell with a heavy breath. Joran walked to her side. "You didn't have to do this," he said. "I know," she replied, "but I wanted to." Their eyes met again, closer now than ever before. And in that tiny, dimly lit server room, they stood in silence. No rules between them, only choice. The following morning, everything looked normal on the ship. The medbay lights flickered on. The monitors blinked softly. The halls were calm. But inside Virel, everything had changed. The Forbiddens file was gone, the emotional logs wiped clean. And no alert had come through the night. She should have felt relieved, but her heart was louder than her thoughts. And one truth kept rising like a fire. She couldn't hide what she felt anymore, not from herself, not from Joran, and soon, not from anyone else. Joren sat at the edge of his medbed, now fully dressed in standard ship uniform. His wound had healed. Technically, he was ready to leave the medbay, but he hadn't asked for release because the truth was, he didn't want to leave her. He heard the soft sound of boots behind him and turned. Virel entered slowly, holding a small data crystal in her hand. "What's that?" he asked. "My final report," she said. "Commander Talek is coming for inspection today." "I must submit it." Joran stood. "What did you write?" She hesitated, then handed it to him. He read it slowly, line by line. His heart beat faster. "Patient responded well to treatment. Healing is complete. Unexpected biological reaction triggered by emotional stimuli. No threat detected. Interaction with human subject provided new insight into emotional biology. Recommendation: allow future interspecies empathy research. Personal note: the subject showed me something beyond medicine, something I didn't know I needed to feel." Joran looked up. "You're not hiding it anymore." Virel shook her head. "No." He stepped closer. "What if Talek reads this and removes you from duty? Then I'll no longer be a nurse on this ship," she said softly. "But I'll still be ME. You'd risk everything?" He asked. She met his eyes. "I already did, the moment I cared." Just then, the doors opened with a sharp hiss. Commander Talek stepped in, reading from his tablet. "Nurse Virel," he said without looking up. "I've reviewed system activity. I noticed a deletion server logs from your medical terminal." Virel's back straightened. "Yes, Commander." Talek finally looked up, narrowing his eyes. "Explain." "I removed personal emotional logs," she said clearly. "They were not part of the official report." "And why did such logs exist at all?" Virel paused. "Because I wanted to understand a reaction not covered in our training." Talek turned to Joran. "You, human, was this about you?" Joran stepped forward. "Yes, sir. It was my reaction." Talek scoffed. "I see. Another human distracting our crew." Joran kept his voice calm. "I didn't plan any of this. But I didn't stop it either." Talek turned back to Virel. "You're aware you broke protocol?" "Yes," she said. "But I gained something more valuable than a rule." Talek stared hard at her. Silence. Then he set the tablet down on the table. "No mention of this leaves this room," he said firmly. "Do you understand?" Both nodded. He picked up the data crystal and turned to the door. But before walking out, he stopped. He glanced back, his voice low and colder. "You're not the first Ilvari to fall for a human. But most learned the hard way feelings don't protect you in space. Then he was gone. The room felt still again. Joran let out a breath. He didn't report us, Varel nodded, but he gave us a warning. What now? Joran asked. She looked up at him. I don't know. But I don't want to pretend anymore. He stepped closer. Neither do I. This time they didn't just talk. They didn't scan. They didn't explain. They simply stood there, two lives from two different stars, no longer bound by duty, fear, or logic. They didn't know what would happen next, but they knew one thing: whatever came, they'd face it together.